guys, I hope everybody's doing okay. I'm here today with another walkthrough, and this is Tarot of the Holy Spectrum by Chase Voorhees. It comes in this lovely magnetic flip box. This is the second edition that I've got, the first printing of the second edition. And I got this from a company called Kismet Berlin, which is where you get it from if you're kind of in Europe, the UK, I believe. I'll put a link in the description to the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum website, and that kind of directs you to where you can go to buy it. Okay, so first of all, just to kind of let you see the kind of different things about the deck, it's this lovely kind of matte cardstock, so it's really kind of soft. I'll compare it if you kind of run your hand down the screen of your computer, you know, like an LCD display screen. That's kind of how it feels, you know, really smooth, lovely matte cardstock. Like I say, it's got this really nice black edging on it, so it has. It's really nicely done. Let me just kind of show you some more cards. So you can kind of see the lovely black, and then it's got these kind of solid black backgrounds, not backgrounds, sorry, card backs. So we'll run through the cards, and you know, I'll comment on them as I go through. So one of the things that I really love about this deck is the use of colour. Okay, the major arcana, we'll obviously hit that first. So the majors are very much kind of black and white monotoned, but we have this kind of burst of colour in each of the cards, and as we progress through the majors, it goes from one end of the colour spectrum to the other. Apart from the Fool, which we see in front of us here just now, the Fool, we can see the lemniscate here is kind of all of the colours of the spectrum that it's shown. Alright, as far as the image is concerned in the Fool, you know, we've got the kind of standard, the person walking off the cliff, and you know, you can see them walking off and reaching for that lemniscate, you know, they're trying to kind of achieve that spiritual enlightenment. When we move on to the Magician, we can see the colour has gone to red. So the kind of the burst of colour here is kind of red. We see the tools in front of the Magician on the table. And another thing we see is what we tend to see throughout the majors. It seems to be the same character that is moving through the major arcana. So that's a really nice touch, I think. So the Magician, the High Priestess, quite difficult, I think, for you to see here. Let me see if I can hold this a wee bit closer. But you can just see she's kind of like the line work, you know, she's just made out in the line drawing. Quite difficult to see. The thing that really pops is the pomegranate that she's holding in her hand, and where we had like kind of this solid red colour in the Magician, we've now gone to this kind of reddy purpley colour. And then when we move to the Empress, we've gone to a more kind of purpley lilac-y type colour. Look at this really nice kind of floral background. The Empress is kind of, looks like she's blowing air, so like blowing to disperse the seeds of the flowers. Really, really nice. We then come to the Emperor, and we're getting to more of a kind of deep purple, so you see how it's like the colours are moving through the spectrum. Really, really, really nicely done, I think. We kind of see this, it's almost like a throne on top of a mountain here. So we really get that kind of that real Aryan energy, that real kind of control, stability that comes with the Emperor and with the Fours. The Hierophant, you know, an even darker purple. We have these kind of figures in the background, not in the background, sorry, like kind of inverted, that seem to be speaking to the Hierophant. I kind of get like a seer type energy from this Hierophant, which is pretty cool. You know, the singer seer that wears these kind of wigs. So yeah, lovely card. The Lovers, again, a little deeper purple yet. You know, we've got this kind of mirror image type thing going on. We really kind of get this idea of harmony, you know, the conscious and the unconscious self. You know, the light and the shadow both kind of coming together and meeting in the middle type thing. and really kind of having to make a choice between what direction to go in. We've come to the chariot, and now we seem to be more in a kind of bluey indigo type colour. And we see the character is in this kind of what looks like a sports car type thing. They seem to be kind of coming to meet this figure that's in the distance here. I don't know if you can just make that out. And if you look, the car doesn't appear to have any wheels in it, you know, so it's purely the you know, the person's willpower and the strength of their mind that's driving their chariot. We come to the strength card, beautiful strength card, pretty standard kind of image I think, and we've come to this kind of darker blue. We then come to the Hermit, again quite a standard image, really nicely done, and we've got a kind of lighter blue here, and it's the kind of the light from the Hermit's lantern that's the burst of colour in this card. We'll then get the Wheel of Fortune. You know, quite simplistic. You know, we've got the 4 elements represented here, so we're going from fire into air, into water, into earth, and it kind of continues around, you know, and we've got this person at the top of the wheel just now, but as this wheel turns, they're going to have their fair share of their time at the bottom and whatnot as well. So a really nice Wheel of Fortune card. I think it kind of gets the job done. We then come to Justice, and Justice has this kind of, it's almost like a big cowl over them. That's kind of stuck, you know, it's not, she's not blindfolded, she's kind of blinded by this hood, by this cloak, and we just see the kind of sword of justice and the scales there. Okay, now the Hanged Man in this deck is well, see, this is where we see differences between the first edition of this deck and the second edition. If I'm completely honest, I think I preferred the Hanged one in the first edition as opposed to the Tethered one, which is what we see in the second edition. Now, it could just be that I need to kind of do a wee bit of thinking about, you know, the connotations of this and what it means. But yeah, so this is our what's equivalent to our Hanged Man or Hanged one is the Tethered one, and we appear to have this kind of person that, you know, our hero, our character, our fool is lying on the ground, and they're tethered to this kind of, you know, spiritual self. So I suppose you can pull the kind of idea of, you know, taking a different, you know, a different perspective, looking at things from a different point of view. But yeah, I think I prefer the, you know, just the kind of more traditional representation and the Hanged one in the first edition. Death card is absolutely stunning, and you know, as with the last few cards, were kind of the colours are more a kind of greeny colour. Yeah, Death card, we just see this kind of skeleton in the ground. You know, lovely Death card. Temperance is another one that's changed from the first edition to this edition. I think in the first edition, again, we had a more kind of classical temperance card with the, you know, the angel or the figure pouring the water from one vessel into another. Here we appear to have these hands meeting in the middle, you know. It's a kind of meeting of the physical or the conscious or one aspect of yourself with this more ethereal hand, this like unconscious aspect. The Devil, and this is, the Devil has changed from edition 1, or sorry, the first edition. I actually quite like the change. So in the first edition, we only had the figure, we didn't have all of these words around about the Devil, but I quite like the words that we see, you know. So we see like, I'll be forgotten, fear, you're not good enough, self-doubt, why even try, I have to, I can't, should. It's all these kind of things that, you know, that kind of beat down our confidence, and you know, it's all these things that we tell ourselves that take away the control, take the control out of our hands. And the Devil is it's the only card in the majors where we don't as easily make out this kind of same, what looks to be a female figure, which is the Fool. This looks quite different, but I think it could quite easily be the same figure, but just dressed in a different way. The hair's pulled back in a different way. So that's really nice to see. We've got a lovely tower, quite classic. We've got this kind of vibrant deep green here. We've got the lightning, quite standard, and we see our figure falling from the tower. The star is lovely. The only colour here is this little cup that she's using. And the starry sky is reflected in the water, and it's like she's trying to scoop up that hope, and we see this boat here just kind of in the corner of the image, and we see that continue through to the next card, which is the moon. So we see here that she's kind of, she's regained that feeling of hope, that confidence, and now she's in this boat and she's going by and she sees these different figures here. She's got a choice to make, a choice of what path to take. Okay, and then the next card we can kind of see that she's chosen to go with the horse this time round. So we see her here on the horse. We see the sun, got this kind of pale yellow colour, and we see her kind of navigating through. The next card we've kind of went to this really deep orange colour, and I really get Matrix vibes from this card, like real strong Matrix vibes from this, and I love it. So I really like it. It's this idea of being unplugged from the Matrix. She's kind of sitting up, she's taking the blindfold off, and she's kind of coming out of Plato's cave and seeing things for how they truly are for the first time. And the title for this card is Awakening. So that's a really kind of stunning card, I think. And then we end with the World. And it's almost like we're back at the same place. We're back at that cliff edge. We've achieved what we were looking to achieve, that enlightenment, and it's time to start the journey again. So love the majors, really well done, I think. Like I say, I just love how the colour moves, that we move through the spectrum of colour as we move through those major arcana. Okay, now the minors are a bit different. The minors, so the first suit that I've got here is the wands, and as we kind of move through the wands, if I just kind of compare the ace and the two, we can see that the actual wands themselves retain this kind of green colour. And that's going to be the wands throughout the suit are going to be green, but the kind of background is what changes. So we move from red through, I think, to this kind of purpley colour in this suit. But we'll see how that works in the other suits. So we can see we've got this, our ace of wands is this kind of fiery wand. We really kind of grasp the fire element from this. We've got our two of wands, she's, that duality of the two oars that we see representing the wands here. Really kind of learning to navigate those opposing forces in order to drive yourself forward, in order to build your portal, in order to make way for yourself to move forward. Okay. You can see here, the person who was setting out on their boat, they've reached the other side, and they're looking out to see, what's next, where is this energy going to take me now? We really we've gone from, an outdoor view to now being indoors, so we really kind of grasp that stability that we get in the fours. The wands, you can see, well, three of the wands seem to have been put away, and then one of the wands seems to be lying on the floor here. But when we just look at this card, it really does kind of scream this more stabilized situation than what we have in the first few cards. But what's nice to see is the four, this isn't the end goal. She is running out the door to kind of achieve more things. The five, this is another card that's been changed in addition to. One of the unfortunate things about this deck is there isn't any kind of guidebook, or as far as I'm aware anyway, there isn't anything to kind of guide you through, what the intention behind each card is, which is a shame. In this depiction we see, the five wands are within this kind of container. We see these chemicals or whatever they are being poured into the container, I'm not sure I fully understand what's happening here. It's certainly quite difficult to get that competition, you know, element from it. You know, the kind of arguments, the fighting, or you know, of course the healthy competition that we can also kind of interpret the Five of Wands as. I suppose what you could say is that you do get the idea of an external force coming into play and kind of changing things up a bit, you know. I suppose you know, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but I suppose a chemical reaction is what, you know, you could say that's what's happening here. And it's that kind of disruption, it is that kind of reaction, it's that change that happens that we, you know, that's the reason that we experience the disruption in the five, it is that change. So I suppose, you know, I suppose I could get used to this, is what I'm saying. In the six, we're back to that stability, that harmony, you know, we've got the kind of you know, the path leading up to the nice kind of secure house. We've got the wands kind of, I don't know if you'd say they're displayed there or what, but yeah, really nice cards. We really kind of get that idea of, you know, achievement. We've achieved something, and recognition and victory and whatnot. The seven, again, stunning card. We've got this person climbing up, we've got this person at the top, and I mean, we have this, you know, if you can see, the wands are kind of the grid that this person is climbing on, but it looks as though this person's taking this top one away. You know, so she's really standing her ground and protecting herself from any kind of oncomers who are maybe trying to steal her glory. Eight of Wands is quite a classic Eight of Wands, you know, it's the usual kind of RWS depiction of the eight. We really get the kind of, you know, the fast movement, the swiftness, but it's coming from that stable place, yeah. So all eight wands are parallel, they're moving in tandem. It really kind of like takes your mind to the uniformity and the, you know, the stability that would have to have created that motion. The Nine of Wands. You know, this person's really, they're sleeping on their nine wands, you know. You get this idea of constantly being on guard, having to protect what you've built. There's almost get the idea of, like, it's almost like a kind of canine, like a dog, how a dog kind of, like, there was one time when my brothers had a friend over staying, and I slept downstairs in the living room, and we had two dogs, two brown Labradors at the time, and they, like, to protect me, they were like, one of them was sleeping on top of me, like, he literally wouldn't get off me, it was like lying right over the top of me. It was the most uncomfortable night's sleep I've ever had, but you know, the dog was obviously protecting me, which was nice. So that's kind of what this brings to mind, you know. You've built this this structure with your nine wands, and you won't leave it for a single second, not even to get some sleep. And then we've got the 10 wands, which I think is quite classic. You know, you've got the idea of kind of carrying this heavy burden, and you know, is there maybe a more effective way to do this? Could we delegate, or could we put 5 wands down and do it in 2 trips, you know? So yeah, and you can see how, you know, you would have seen as we went through how the colours have kind of progressed. We've gone from this red through to this purple colour, which is really nice. Now, when we come to the court cards, what we'll see is that the court cards are all monochromatic, and they're all monochromatic in the colour of the suit. So we said that the wands were green as we went through, you know, that was the kind of uniform thing, was that the wands were all green. We see here that you know, the court cards for the wands are all like kind of green. So we've got our page, our knight, and we really pick up on this kind of, this hive energy, this fire energy, you know, this horse is kind of up on 2 legs. We've got the queen. And we've got our king, not sitting on a throne. He is mid-motion, he's mid-action, he's doing something, which is always nice for me to see in a King of Wands card. Now we're on to the swords, and the swords themselves are blue, but rather than going from red through to purple, we appear to be going, I think, from purple through to red in this suit. Two of Wands, quite classic. Three of, oh sorry, I'm saying Wands, Swords, Two of Swords, I beg your pardon. And then we'll get the Three of Swords, again quite a classic Three of Swords card. Not massively keen on the old stabby through the heart for Three of Swords. I think it's so much more than that, but you know, it's quite a classic interpretation of it. We've got the Four of Swords. This idea of rest. Five, this is another one that's been changed. I wonder if he's changed all of the fives actually, because that was the Five of Wands and the Five of Swords. So yeah, now I'm curious. But it's, again, this is another one that I need to think about, because we've got a book and it's entitled Mistakes. We've got the Five Swords are stabbing that book, and then the person's mid writing out, you know, solutions. So the Five of Swords it can be about defeat and all the kind of pain that comes with that, but I don't think that's just one aspect of the Five of Swords. I think when you look at the kind of whole journey of the Five of Swords, it is about using your intellect in order to navigate those defeats and, you know, navigate those difficult situations using the power of your own mind. And I suppose that is kind of what this person is doing. You know, they're applying their intellect, they're learning from their mistakes, and they're looking for a way forward. Six of Swords, again another lovely classic image. We see the boat taking the people from the choppy waters to the calmer waters. Got the Seven, the Eight, the Nine, and we've got the 10, and we end on this red background. So those cards were all quite classic, I would say. Got the Page of Swords, and of course now we're into this kind of blue court card monochromatic style. Got the Knight, we see this really fast, quick movement. This Queen is absolutely stunning. Not only has she got her sword in her hands, but she's surrounded, you know, so we really kind of get this feel of the power of her intellect, I think, is what that's made to represent. And if you look at her crown, I think it looks as though even her crown is made out of like wee swords. I'm trying to kind of hold this so as you can see it. See that? So this person is all about the use of their intellect in order to kind of navigate their way forward. And then we've got the King, and this is a bit of an unusual one, if I'm honest. You know, this appears to be quite a young boy in the King of Swords. But he's clasping onto this book called Truth. There's this microphone coming down, and he's holding onto this sword. So that's our King of Swords. Okay, we now come on to the cups, and again I think we're moving from the kind of purple, so like the swords, where the background moves from purple through to red, and the cups themselves are red. So it's quite difficult to see here, but that cup there is red in colour. So that's our Ace of Cups. Two of Cups. Again, it is different, but it's also classic. You know, we've got this embrace, the embrace between the kind of physical self and the, you know, the ethereal unconscious self, because of course the cups aren't just about connecting to other people, but connecting to yourself and your own unconscious, you know. Three of Cups, it's kind of idea of celebration and, you know, bonds really forming with other people. Got the Four. So it's nice, he doesn't look as though he's fed up, you know. It's not like he doesn't appreciate what he's got. He does appreciate what he's got, you know. He wants to finish off what he's got before he moves on to something else. So that's quite a nice change to see for the Four of Cups. Five of Cups, you can really kind of get the idea of the, you know, the grief and the pain from this. Oops. the Six of Cups, looking at the photograph, looking back at, you know, your younger self, looking back at happier times. You know, the Six of Cups is about achieving emotional harmony, you know, after a difficult time, after this period of grief. It's about how we achieve that, get that harmony back, get that happiness back. And one of the ways we can do that is by thinking back to times when we were happier, you know, it's like a kind of emotional system reboot. So that's why we often associate it with this kind of nostalgia type feeling. Seven of Cups, had to think about this one, but I do quite enjoy it. You know, it's this idea of everything, you know, your emotions warping your mind. So you can see the cups are all in the head, and there's this kind of really kind of warped energy coming out of them, and it appears to be clouding the person's mind, and this person is going to have to navigate that and really make sense of that in order to make the right choice, or, you know, in order to unmask the illusion or whatever it is that they're trying to do. Eight of Cups, we've got this classic, you know, walking away. We've got the Nine as a wishing well, so the wish card, got a wishing well for that. It's quite nice. One thing about the Nine of Cups is I tend to read it more as a, you know, it's about having, you know, everything you need in your emotional self, you know, being emotionally fulfilled. And yeah, one of the interpretations of that is that you have everything you want, you know, it's like a wish, you know, you're going to have everything you want. But another kind of, the way that I like to look at it is, you know, when you think about those emotional connections, you know, it's about having all of that, you know, your cup runneth over when it comes to that, having those connections all round about you. So a really kind of strong sense of community I normally like to see in a Nine of Cups. And then we've got the 10, you know, we take it back to the family, you know, what do you really need to be fulfilled in your heart? And we've got this, it's quite hard to make out. The cups themselves are like stars in the sky, I think. And then we appear to have this family around the bonfire, although it is, like I say, it's difficult to make out, you know, what is actually there, or who is actually there rather. So we're on to red for the cups now. For the cups quarter, so our Page of Cups, and we see him looking at his cup and the fish coming out of it. A Knight of Cups, and the knight astride his horse is actually in the water, in the sea. We've got this light coming through the clouds, beautiful, stunning image. I always really like to see water, how water's depicted, how an artist, you know, depicts water, and that can kind of make or break an art style for me. But this is really stunning, the way this is done. Queen of Cups is amidst a rainstorm and really kind of immersed in her element, so that's really nice. She's kind of holding her cup up and letting her cup be filled. And then we have our King of Cups. So we see two figures here, you know. We see the king on the throne, and he's drinking from his cup, but he's also pouring into another cup for, you know, either a servant, a subject, you know, member of his family, whoever this might be. So we really get this idea of bringing this emotional stability to other people. You know, the king has got his eye on the bigger picture. He's the one that manages the kind of the emotional suit, and he's the one that kind of the negotiator, you know, the person we go to when we have trouble emotionally. So yeah, this is a really nice image, I think. And then we come to the last suit, the suit of Pentacles. So the pentacles, as you can see, are yellow, and the background, again, like in the wands, I think, we're going from the red background through to the purple. So we've got the Ace of Pentacles, we've got this massive pentacle, you know, showing the full potential of the suit, and we've got the seedling coming out of the ground. Two of Pentacles, I'm a big fan, as anyone who's watched my lives will know, of the spinning plates analogy for the Two of Pentacles. So the fact that these appear to be plates that she's carrying, that's very pleasing for me. I really like that. It's working together in the Three of Pentacles, stunning image. Four of Pentacles, you know, really kind of stable energy here, being really relaxed, and yeah, just being really kind of at peace with what, you know, your material world, everything that you've got. The Five of Pentacles. So this is really open to interpretation, what's happening here, I guess. So we see these people, they're digging in the ground, and it looks like he's thinking about the Five Pentacles, you know. It's as if he's looking for the Five Pentacles, but what he doesn't realise is that he's actually already unearthed them. They're here, they're behind them. So the key is there, the thing that he's looking for is there, he just needs to be able to turn around and see it. Six of Pentacles, we get this kind of exchange of energy. It's always nice to see that kind of harmony, that exchange in the sixes, because if we think back to the Lovers, that's what the sixes are about. It's about achieving that harmony, achieving, you know, that kind of exchange of energy. So we have what appears to be two people. They're holding on to, you know, they've got pentacles and they're handing them out. We see the hands kind of reaching out for them here. Seven of Pentacles, quite classic image where we see the, you know, we see the pentacles on the tree, and she's clearly kind of having a look and thinking about, you know, is it time for me to take those pentacles down, or, you know, can I achieve more by leaving them there? Are they going to grow further? Eight of Pentacles, quite classic. You know, we don't really see much happening in this card, I guess, but you do kind of get this idea of, you know, they've achieved the stability. You know, it's a machine now that works of its own accord. The Nine of Pentacles, the main thing here is the grapes. The pentacles are kind of on the grapes. So grapes are a symbol of, you know, luxury. We think grapes, we think wine. With, you know, it makes you think of happiness and achievement, and, you know, being really kind of accomplished in your material world. And then we've got the Ten of Pentacles here, and this is like a big dinner party, I think. So we've got this table that's full of all this kind of food and drink. We've got all these cups being raised. So yeah, and then we've got obviously the pentacle up in the, you know, up in the, it's like a chandelier or something. And then lastly we've got the quartz for the pentacles. So we've got our page very much focused on his pentacle, you know, what can he achieve with it, what's the best way for him to, you know, go about using that pentacle. The Knight of Pentacles is astride this beautiful stag, really earthy, you know. Again, he's very much focused on his pentacle. He's very kind of slow and focused and careful about every step that he makes. Queen of Pentacles, again we see the stag represented here. It's kind of behind her throne. Her throne is in the garden. She's very much immersed in nature. She's got the birds in her hands. A real kind of mothering type energy here. And then lastly we have our King of Pentacles. Again, we've got the stag represented up here, surrounded by the this floral arrangement, these flowers. And we see this pentacle behind them. Stunning card. So that's the flip through, guys. What I'll do is I will give these a good shuffle, and we'll do a wee... Okay guys, so I've been giving this a good shuffle. What I would say is it's a really nice deck to overhand shuffle. If you look at, like, this is just something I sometimes like to do, you know, if I'm not shuffling for any reason, if I'm just doing it because I enjoy shuffling cards. If you look at the colours, you know, if you shuffle it face up and just look at the colours flash by, it's a really nice experience for me. It's a lovely deck to shuffle. You can riffle shuffle the deck. I think because of the black edging, I'm going to avoid bridging it, but I have been kind of just trying to take care and gently riffle shuffle it. So I'll just give it a quick riffle so you can see. So I'm just trying to be as careful as I can, obviously. Doesn't need to stay perfect, but I would just rather kind of look after it, and I'll just kind of push the cards together rather than bridge them. Okay, so So this is where we're going to carry out a wee interview with the deck. We're going to give it the chance to tell us a bit about itself and how it might be best used. Okay, so the first card is where we just ask the deck to tell us a bit about itself, and we've got the Fool, so we've got this limitless potential, which is nice to see. I do love to see good potential in a deck. You know, whether you kind of believe that this is the deck actually telling us about itself, or whether this is a psychological thing with me, you know, I really do kind of like to see that I can use a deck for whatever I want. So when you ask it, when you say tell me about yourself, and you see the Fool card, you know, you see this blank slate, you know, that, you know, the path forward could take many different forms, you know, the choice is really yours. So that's really nice to see. What about strengths? Okay, we've got the Ten of Wands, so it's about taking those burdens and breaking them down, you know, redistributing the work in a way that's kind of more effective for, you know, more effective for you, for both your mental state and for actually getting the work done. Because right now we, you know, it's about feeling really kind of burdened, and you know, is there just a better way that we can approach this? So perhaps with questions like that, you know, if we're struggling, if we're amidst a struggle, then this deck is going to be really good at kind of analysing that situation and telling us, you know, how can we achieve a better way forward. Limitations or weaknesses. Okay, we've got Justice here. So justice we think of like is like the kind of ultimate fairness, you know, the blindness of justice. You know, what am I trying to say? So justice applies equally to the rich as to the poor, the poor, or, you know, to the, you know, the higher class as to the lower class. You know, obviously here we're talking old archaic justice interpretations, but the point is that it applies to everyone equally, or it should. Perhaps although this deck is not going to be so good at doing that, you know, it's not going to be the best at being measured about, you know, thinking of the bigger picture, which is something that we associate with justice. So yeah, it might be good at kind of your more kind of zoomed in, honed in views on things, rather than thinking about, you know, the bigger picture. So if I go to it and think, right, how can I, you know, how can I sort my finances out? How can my finances be better? It might be able to give me an answer to that question, but who's to say that the answer won't be the detriment to some other aspect of my life? So that's just kind of the stuff that flies out at me for that. Now the next card is where, and I always struggle to remember this one, and you'll know that because I say it every time I pull this card. What are you here to teach me? That's the one. So we've got the Moon card coming out, and I'm having to stack them on top of each other here just to get them to fit in. But we've got the Moon card coming out as to what the deck is here to teach me. And we've got a lot of majors popping out here. At least half of the spread is going to be majors. So we've got the Fool, then Justice, then the Moon. Now the Moon, as to what you're here to teach me, I mean, normally the Moon is about negotiating and navigating that difficult, you know, almost like that twilight zone, you know, when you feel like everything's warped and you don't know what's going on. That's when you're in Moon energy. And you know, that is what's happening here. We see her in this boat, but we're really kind of drawn to the choice aspect of this card. You know, she's got a choice of 3 paths, a choice of 3 animals, and she needs to choose which one she's going to make. So different choices when, you know, the options maybe aren't very clear. That's maybe something that this deck is going to be here to teach me. Next card is how can I best learn and collaborate. So we'll get the High Priestess. So the High Priestess, it's about, you know, listening to your unconscious. Okay, so what that could mean is that this deck is perhaps going to give us answers that are going to seem counterintuitive. All right, it's going to give us answers that immediately when we hear them, we're going to be like, well, that sounds like a lot of rubbish, or, you know, where did that come from? But you know, given that we've got the High Priestess here, the best way to learn from that, to collaborate with that, is to give the information some time to bounce about in our unconscious, you know? Give it that time that it needs for our unconscious to unravel it and really make sense of it. And then the last card is a potential outcome of our working relationship together, and we've got the Hierophant. Okay, so we've got this teacher card, this connecting to something greater, which is what I think most of us, if not all of us, who work with tarot are trying to achieve. So that's a really, really nice outcome to see. All right. So that's just a, you know, just a quick spread to, well, it's let me interview the deck, and it's also let all of you guys see how this kind of, you know, how this looks laid out. We do have 5 majors here, which would suggest that, you know, it's going to be a pretty serious deck for me. It's one that I'm going to have to work with quite a lot, and it could be quite a powerful deck for me personally. Unfortunately, it means that you're not seeing, you know, those bold colours, you know, because obviously the majors have just got the kind of sprinkling of colour in them, whereas the minors we tend to see the more bold colours. But let me just lay some cards out for you, just so that you can kind of get a feel for how this is going to look when we've got all those bold colours out on the table. So let's see. Try to do this in such a way that I'm not completely out of the shot. This is, for me, this is really kind of visually appealing, because you can read into things. If you look at the, you know, if we look at the first 2 cards that I pulled out, we get that blending of the colours, you know. If I just take these away so you can see them, sorry. So they're both swords cards, but if we look at the background, we've got this kind of greeny bluey background, you know. We've got this blue, we go into the greeny blue, we then progress on to the yellow here, we've got the yellow and the green. So there really is, there's like a progression here, and then, you know, even still, you know, we've got the yellow and the and that 8 of Pentacles there, but then we're hit with this opposite colour, this purple coming through. So the background of that 8 of Pentacles could be important, you know. It really stands out to me, so I might be thinking, right, what's the background there, you know, what is the environment of my working environment like? Is that something that I should be paying attention to? So we can read these in all sorts of kind of different weird and wonderful ways, and that's something that I think I'm going to really enjoy working with this deck. Alright, so thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope that you've enjoyed this. Well, I say short, I suppose it wasn't that short, but shorter than some of my other walkthroughs. I hope that you all have an amazing rest of your day or evening or morning or whatever time it is where you are. Take care, guys, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.